Alright, welcome everybody to the channel. I know this doesn't look like a computer, and I wish I could have started recording when I encounter this situation, but in a way it is still related. Let me give you a little background story of how do we end up here. So as I'm cleaning my closet and stuff like that, I found an air purifier, which is this pile of stuff. Obviously, it is more like a room, small room size air purifier. It's not like a whole house or a large living room or something like that. But either way, it will do the job. So I'm like, you know what? I do have a room air purifier which is much larger than this, but I want to have something that is a little bit closer to my equipment so I can capture as much dust as I can closer to the device. This way I don't have no dust cake up and dust bunnies inside my computers. So this actually fits the bill. And again, I wish I would have recorded the prior state of this pile of stuff when I started, cleaning it up. But unfortunately, I didn't. And the reason why I ended up over here is because when I pulled it out of the closet, it's like I wonder why it was in the closet. I'm not using it. I don't know why. And then as I'm looking at it closely, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. It's starting to smell a little bit funny. Wasn't doing the job properly, and I guess I just tossed it in the closet and bought another one. I needed to buy a larger one anyway, so I didn't put too much thought on this when I put it into the closet. Actually, I should have put it into the trash, but I didn't. I guess I like to keep stuff around for a rainy day. But anyway, so when I recover this thing out of the closet, my memory started coming back. It's like, yeah, but I did have a filter on it, and I don't know what's going on. So as I'm looking around, I was like, okay, let me just change the filter, and I, put it back in, in its new task. But then I started noticing that there was a lot of, yes, it was, this is the front grill, by the way. There was obviously some dust accumulated here, which is obvious. Then this is the inner grill where the filter will sit, and yes, there was also some dust, again, it's expected. But then I look at the filter that it had, and yes, it has some dust on it. The pre-filter, that carbon mesh, was clean, so I guess I had cleaned it at one time. But anyway, but the thing that it led me to this here is when I looked at the output grill, which is this. It has a significant amount of dust on it. It's like, hey, wait a minute, that's not right. This is where the clean air is supposed to be shooting out. Obviously, this will be in the front, so the device will circulate air this way. So when I looked through the grill and looked inside, and I have no idea why I didn't do this before. I guess because I just was wanting an excuse to buy a larger one anyway. But anyway, I noticed that the inners, which will be this here, obviously will be facing this way on the inside, was also covered with dust, a lot of dust. So I removed the filter that it had, and looking through the inside, I also noticed a large amount of dust. So it's like, oh, geez, Louise. Um, I really don't want to buy another one because it still worked. So maybe it just needs a little bit of cleanup. That's what I say inside my head. I'm always convincing myself on how to keep stuff around. Um, so yeah, I know how to use a screwdriver. I'm right-handed, so I always buy right-handed screwdrivers. So that was a joke. But anyway, so I'm good at handling screwdrivers, left or right-handed, and so I went to task and cracked it open, and I immediately put it back together because it was caked up with dust inside. So I started recollecting that I did had it running unattended, and I have no idea for how long it was running. Um, and I guess when I bought the larger one, I just put this to the side and forgot about it. So so I'm like, okay, oh well. I mean, it's already open, so let me just go ahead and continue opening it. And sure enough, um, I had to obviously crack open this air concentrator, if you will, where the fans and the motor sits, and yeah, there was caked up with fine dust around here, and I mean all over the place. Again, I wish I would have recorded that mess, and it's still some dust is still coming out of it. It's very fine, obviously, and it goes everywhere. I still have to do a little detail cleanup, um, but here we are. At least, and again, do not try this at home. And I cannot stress this. Do not try this at home. I guess I should have started with that. Do not try this at home. This video is for informative purposes only. Um, so at least we can see what the inside of an air purifier, um, a fan with a filter in front of it, and a unidirectional airflow uh, looks like. Okay, or it should look like, minus the bits being bits and pieces, of course. But let's go through it since we already have it, and what we'll do is we'll put it together and see if I'm missing any screws or if it actually works after I put it together. And but before we go through all that stuff, I found out why this thing was a mess on the inside. Apparently, somebody, me, put in the wrong filter. It fit. It fit perfectly ish into the grill. There was no gaps, nothing like that. So not quite sure what convinced me to just say, "Yay, I got it." I have no idea, but it fit. Yes, I did notice that it wasn't a tight fit all around, but there was no gap. So that convinced me that I am a genius, which apparently not that bright of a genius, because I saw there was no gap. The gasket actually covered the walls of the um, of this grill here, and I don't know if your camera can actually see it. Probably not, but I can actually still see the gasket impression all around, which convinced me that yeah, I have a good seal. But And when I put the cover on, it actually pressed against it. So I'm like, okay, cool. I should be good. And perhaps I was okay. Um, but the thing is that these units are not completely 100% sealed. This uh, this this plastic unit here, which by the way, the this is the top section, that directs the flow of air in a specific pattern, just like you have in a uh, over the oven microwave or an air cleaner above the microwave, where you're gonna have an input in an output, or like your blower and your air conditioning system, which essentially is the same thing. It works on the same principles. Um, these units are not 100% airtight at all. So by me putting a different type of filter on it, despite the fact that it had a good seal, the what I essentially created was an obstruction. And the reason I'm saying is because that type of filter was probably created for something that had a much higher capacity, airflow capacity. Uh, the structure that composes the air filter that the device goes into perhaps had a much tighter construction. And what I'm getting with this is that by me um, increasing the the airflow from 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 this direction, from the input side, the device automatically, the air pressure um, changed the flow of where the air was going to be sucked from. So that's probably what happened here, because like I said, this thing had dust in places that there should not be dust. All inside the outer casing, on places that were not supposed to be airflow. Remember, the airflow is supposed to be coming from, let's see, supposed to be coming from this direction and out of this direction to the top, which is of course facing down. So there was no reason for dust to be all over the place if I had a good seal uh, placement of the filter. And also another indication was that the filter and the pre-filter look pretty clean. So there goes that lesson. Not because it looks that is in place, but the resistance that filter created uh, pretty much made this a dust blower. Um, so that's why it's good to always follow the directions, which a lot of us don't do. You go with your gut, and yeah, but I mean sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. There's a specific um, airflow dynamics that the filter will create depending on how many faults it has. And actually the same thing goes for your air conditioner furnace, or your blower, not the furnace but the blower itself. If you have filters that have a lot of faults in it, which creates a bigger surface area, which of course traps a lot more dust and stuff like that, but at the same time you are creating a lot more resistance on the airflow. So your air blower from your air conditioning system will will start sucking air from the least amount of areas it has less resistance from. So it's a double-edged sword. So you have to kind of find a balance between what is its tolerance. Um, but but yeah, so we pretty much paying the price on this one by spending time on cleaning it. But here we are. So let's see what we have. And there was a few things that I found that were very interesting. This here has four essentially nails, and no, it's not a torture device. This actually goes in here on the output side of the airflow, at least on one side, and this here is pretty much a um, some kind of arrestor, and this pretty much equalizes the static electricity. Um, in other words, it's going to eliminate static electricity from accumulating in the plastic, and and of course, the since there's airflow, you're going to have friction, and that friction, of course, depending on the temperature and all that stuff, and all those conditions have to meet, but it will happen. So it's going to little by little accumulate static on it. So this thing here pretty much eliminates that. Um, so so in a sense, yeah, it's it is well constructed. Obviously, you have here the controls, which are all over the place. I did not cut any other wiring. I did not um, submerge this into water or um, splash it in water, nothing like that. What I what I did do was I separated everything and carefully washed this. Um, I used a brush, um, pretty much this brush, to get anything out of there. Of course, I couldn't get everything. I only had two hands, so it was kind of difficult. But one thing that it did manage to do was to get all the debris that conked, conked up on the conked up on the blades of the fans, and I tried to get as much debris out of the motor and all the surrounding parts, but I still see there's some more actually that I could reach in there and finish the job a little bit better. But other than that, not bad. Um, it turned out turned out pretty good. It took some time, but it turned out pretty good. Um, I didn't want to make this wet, of course, for obvious reasons. I didn't want to unbalance the lubrication um, inside the bearings, and I didn't add any lubrication to it because again I didn't want to unbalance that the chemistry in there. If I do that, and that goes for pretty much any bearings, if if I do that and just spray stuff in there, yes, might probably be good for a very short period of time, but I may contaminate what is already there unless it's completely seized and you bring it back to life. Yeah, you have no choice at that point. And if it is seized, it's because it's probably all dried up anyway, and probably there's no grease in there. But since there is grease, and the reason I know is because it does continue rolling after I turn on it. If I try to push newer grease in there, I may create a bigger problem down the road. I don't have the tools slash the time to actually take this completely apart and clean up whatever's in there, the old grease, and then put new grease, then put everything back together. That will be the proper way to do it. Again, that goes with any bearing mechanism. Um, and if I ought to just spray stuff in there, trying to push the old stuff out, and and create a percentage of newer grease versus the old grease, and increase the new grease by pushing it there, so it could be much higher, essentially washing it off. Um, then I will just probably make a big mess. So the best thing is just to leave it alone. Do a good cleanup. Um, it does roll with no problem. So just let it be. Um, Obviously, if it's making screeching noises, if it's screaming at you when it's on, then of course those are signs that yes, it is drying out, and you have to find a spot where you can actually um, put some kind of grease that's meant for bearings, and try to see if you can get it in there. I know the reason why I didn't want to mess with this is because you can easily throw it off balance, uh, especially if it's cheaply made. There's a chance, or if you broke one of the plastics, or you didn't put it in the right spot, or what have you. There's a chance you can throw it off balance. So I didn't want to mess with that. A good cleanup in this situation was just sufficient. Let's see. I didn't cut none of these wires. I didn't disconnect it from here. Yeah, you can actually pop this open and unlatch the cables. These actually are held in by a clip, a friction clip, and you simply just can open the clip and slide them out. But one thing that can happen, and it has happened to me in the past, is that sometimes they don't go back the same way. So sometimes you have to end up cracking the case open and retension the contact in there, so that way when you insert the cable back in, then it goes back um, to how it was before, with the right tension and the right connection. Again, it's all depending, of course, the fabrication of it. So this, I didn't even try doing it. So just left that alone. I know there was enough slack for me to move the plastic away from the components, and wherever possible, I just simply took the toothbrush and just did it manually. The rest of the pieces, I just put it in a bucket with soap, took a brush, and just went to town. So pretty much that's what I did with this. Here, we're gonna go ahead and put everything back together, and along the way, I'll take some white napkins, napkins, and wipe things out where I see there's still accumulation. Another thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to, because I have no idea what happened to this thing, I'm gonna go ahead and just replace this. Again, don't try this at home, but they do have replacing connectors, 2-prong replacing connectors at your favorite hardware store, and it's very simple and easy to do. Yes, I could take a file or what have you and just clean this up, but obviously this being copper, you know, you know, yes, it has the patina, but I'm just gonna go ahead and patina it into the garbage. But that's gonna be a little bit later on. I'm gonna go ahead and get the right filter and put this thing to work. That way I can get some um, cleaner air around my equipment, and everything will be happy, happy, happy. But let's go ahead and put this thing together and and hope for the best. ahead and clean up a bit, and we're gonna move on to the next step and the final step. Besides ordering a filter, still haven't ordered a filter for this, which is type A, and it's gonna be inside the case right here what filter you should use. Not any filter that can fit in there. Trust me, there are filters that will fit in there, but their density will be different. This is why I end up in this situation where the whole inside was just clung up with with dust, and the filter was still clean, because it was creating a lower pressure on the inside, and all the crevices just start pulling in dust all over the place, and I didn't notice it until it was just um, not doing its job. Plus, it was not smelling healthy. Um, and this was in a room that was uh, not not in use, so that's how it got all the way it was, and hence taking it out of commission, of course, until now. Until now. But there are a few things that I need to do, and also before we move forward, the little spikes that you can see here uh, are not necessarily for um, remediating static electricity, although um, because it is connected to ground, or a device that potentially is connected to ground, um, it will have that effect. But what this is an ionizer. So when I was putting it together, I actually looked at this knob, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, uh, that's an ionizer. So, um, so yes, it might probably um, have a dual role in which it will um, counter the static electricity that may be building up in here because of the friction of the air moving about. Um, but the main function is to ionize the air that is coming out. And what that will do is that will actually uh, charge a certain size of particles, not all particles, in a with a negative charge, and that will cause it to well, I mean, they in the website they describe it as falling down to the ground, but it's because you'll be attracted to other things, and they will clump up together, forming a larger particle, which the idea is that it will be easier to clean, um, and of course because they're clumped up, because they'll be attracted to positive particles, um, it will essentially remove those particles of a specific size, up to zero point 0.1 microns, as was described in the article. Um, uh, it will cause essentially a cleaner environment, but of course that doesn't work with everything. UV light in some air purifiers equipped with UV light will actually clean all the particles that the ionizer does not. So there are two different things. The jobs are completely different, but I think they both together can probably be of value. And of course, having a filter, kind of sort of a triple action kind of thing. So yeah, but this one just filters the air with the right filter, and you have the option to turn on and off the ionizer. One of the things that the website mentioned um, is that it can cause a foul smell, and when I mean the website, you just Google it and just read whatever uh, popped up in the search. But okay, so with that out of the way, our main event for this section is to replace this guy here. It is in really bad shape. After me storing it, um, I I'm not quite sure what made it turn that, but yes, I could clean it up and kind of restore it. But then I will be removing um, part of this part of the surface, and it's just so much simpler to just get something for your favorite convenience store that is appropriate for this. This is a two prong, so I went ahead and got a two prong. They come in many different types of casing, but essentially the prongs will be should be the same. One of the things that I will do is I will make sure that the the skinny prong is attached um, to the correct wire that came from the factory. And one of the things that I go by is I look at the cable, and it's factory made, and I look for any markings or anything like that that can give me an orientation. And the reason for that is because in your socket, you are actually going to have, for the most part, uh, one side of the slit that is skinnier than the other. The skinnier one is typically connected to the black cable of your wiring, your house wiring, which will be the hot side, and obviously the other will be connected to the white cable of your house wiring, which is your return. So I want to match it as best as possible. Of course, we're dealing with AC, so you're gonna find some items that don't actually follow that rule as far as the the connector, but you're gonna have like two skinny ones. But the bottom line is that if you make this, if you replace this and make it as intended from factory, then you should be okay. So one of the indicators that I look for is either the print on one of the cables, or I look on the side. One side of the cable, and typically is the skinny one, um, will be smooth. The other one has ridges on it, and that is actually uh, imprinted, if you will, along the side of that wire, and that one goes to the connector that is wider. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna cut it uh, not exactly to the end of the connector that I'm gonna replace. I'm gonna cut it just a little bit farther away. So in the event that I need to uh, go back and look at it, I can actually tell, okay, which side goes to what. And typically they don't flip on you in the inside. They will actually go to the corresponding connector on the other end. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna film it. You guys need to consult an electrician. Don't do this on your own. Have supervision. Supervision. I just made up a word. Supervision in the event that you don't feel comfortable, but you do want to try it. But yeah, don't do this. Don't do this on your own. This is strictly for entertainment purposes only. So always consult your electrician. One thing that I would do is I'm going to show you the inside of this connector, and you at least you have an idea of how it looks like on the inside. Like I said, many different ones will have different types of casing. In our particular case, we only need two prongs. We don't need a ground prong on this system, so which is for the ground. So that's why I chose this one instead of having something that is a bit uh, cheap feeling. I went for the little bit ruggedized one, and they're very inexpensive. Some of them will have two two screws from top. This one just simply has a single screw here on the back side. This one in particular um, does not have does not differentiate between the size of the connector here, and this is why I said that some of them don't follow that. Um, we're dealing with AC. It is not a a grounded system, so it does have a three prong. But what I will do is I will follow and copy the same way that this one is mounted onto this here. So if I need to, I know which way to plug it in. Obviously, it's gonna work either way. So I went ahead and removed the single screw that has in the back, and the connector hinges. So all I have to do is just open it up this way, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna obviously follow the instructions that came with the the, the plug, and I'm pretty much gonna peel the right amount of insulation. I'm gonna push it so that way the jacket is pretty much up to here. So this way when I close it back up, it will be pinched and retain inside the casing, and it's not going to pull on our cables. Obviously, when when I pull when I cut this and pull it apart, um, I'm not going to peel the individual insulation until I can reach here. I'm not going to have the bare wire coming through here. The only bare wire that should be exposed is just the part that connects to the to the connector here. That's the only bare wire that should be in here. But when I cut it, I'm gonna split it apart, kind of like a banana. I will peel the jacket, revealing the copper wire just enough so it can go in here. Just the bare wire. I don't want any insulation inside the connector. Just the bare wire. And of course, I need to make sure that this this other part of the connector is spread apart, so I can insert my bare wire to inside the gap, pretty much. So this way, when I start screwing it down, it will sandwich the bare wire in and trap it against the actual connector that is protruding to the other side. And this, of course, has to be tight, pretty good. I don't want to, of course, strip the wire, but it has to be tight, really tight in there. Not loose, not halfway, pretty much until it doesn't go anymore, and then just a little bit more. So that way it's secure, and you can give it a tug, so that way you know that it's in there. Like I said, the read the instructions. It is very crucial to follow the instructions, and pretty much if you follow the instructions, you can't go wrong, and of course do it with a under supervision if at all possible. And another thing, of course, before I went ahead and purchased this, I wanted to make sure that this was suitable for 120 volts, which is imprinted here, and of course in the package. It is a 15 amp, which is just fine for this unit. This probably is going to be pulling maybe 1 amp probably, so it's way under, but the main thing is for 120. So all those things, if this is your first time dealing with replacing an electrical connector, make sure you do your research, make sure you ask people around, and make sure you have somebody that has done this before. And it doesn't mean that you cannot do it, as long as it's under supervision from somebody that knows how to do it. That should be okay. But that's the key thing: follow instructions under supervision, ask questions, and make sure that the people that is around you know what you're about to do, and they also have some experience in doing this. So I'm gonna go ahead, pause over here. I'm gonna come back, and you'll see the end result. All right. So this is how the final product should look like. It is really tight in there, and that's what I want. I spread the insulation just enough so I can make it around the wheel, the center island, if you will, and none of the strands, if this is a stranded wire, which it is, it's actually protruding out of from the side, trying to reach the other side. You have to make sure that all the strands are inside their corresponding connectors. And before closing it, I just want to make sure that the smooth side is on the correct connector. Now, since this doesn't have a wider one or a skinny one connector, one of the telltale signs by reading the instructions is that the copper, whether if it is a nut or screw, the copper one corresponds to the what would have been the skinny one, which corresponds to the hot side, whereas the silver side corresponds to the wider one, which corresponds to the return, which of course is a white wire inside your receptacle. So that will be one of the ways to differentiate which side goes to which. Okay, so remember, the connector has to be a 125 volt resistant, not resistance, resistant, or compatible with, because this is a 125. The amperage Obviously, I know this is much less than 15 amps. If not, you can read the labeling on on the device that you're replacing the connector with. There are some other devices that may perhaps require higher amperage, but your connector will look much different. Most likely it will be a 3 prong, and in some cases the orientation of the prong may vary. But again, if you just simply copy the outgoing part with the incoming part, and you follow the instructions, you can't go wrong. Plus, remember, you're gonna have somebody with you that has done this before, and you have done your homework on your own, and also you have pretty much consulted that person on what your intentions are. Again, that's if this is your first time doing it, and you just simply just want to explore something that is out of your comfort zone, or it's the first time. Always ask somebody around, and don't do it. Of course, don't do it alone. Okay, that's the part of the supervision part comes in. So I'm gonna go ahead and sandwich the connector, and I'm going to squeeze this here. Now, do keep an eye on this part of replacing the connector. Um, Depending the connector that you got, the securing of the outer jacket, that that mechanism may be different from connector to connector. So one of the worst things that you want to do is to purchase something that everything went well on this part, but when it comes to pinching and securing the your wire, actually uh, destroys or uh, partially damages the auto jacket. So keep an eye on that. If you see that, hey, this here is it's actually damaging the connector or the outer jacket, um, just back it out. Um, you know, Examine what's going on, and see if it is okay to proceed. Okay, so it looks like so far so good. Doesn't look like it has damaged out of jacket. So let's go ahead and continue with that. Okay. Now again, this part, you do it as far as you feel comfortable, but enough so the jacket is pinched down and secure. Okay, so it is secure. Doesn't look like it is damaging the jacket at all. Doesn't look like it. I don't know if you guys can see that. But if you don't feel comfortable, or if you feel some crunchiness or some uh, penetration, because you'll feel some resistance, and then all of a sudden it drops, but then there's a clear sign that something in there is it's going on. So do um, reverse what you do, and examine what's going on. But I didn't get that at all, so I think it's pretty good. But if you do have that issue, or the other issue, the opposite, in which you finish all this and it is good from here forward, it's really good, everything went well, but then from this part to securing the jacket part, it actually doesn't secure the your cable because it's not biting on the jacket. Obviously, follow the instructions, but if you have followed the instructions and it doesn't do that, then that means you have the wrong casing, the right connector, everything's fine, but the wrong casing for the size of the cable. So you have to kind of go back to the store and obtain a different one. If you can bring a sample of the cable you're trying to put a plug on, that would be even better. But in my case, everything worked out just fine. So a couple of things to look at. It does have a little give on each side, but the center is good. The screw doesn't go anymore, and it is secure. So let's go ahead and turn this off, and I'm gonna plug it in just for testing purposes. I know it doesn't have a filter, but it will still work. So let's see. Okay, it is plugged in, the right orientation. It doesn't really have to, because this is a two-prong and it's AC, so AC current. So technically speaking, it doesn't have to, but do connect it the right orientation. So let's go ahead and turn it on and see what happens. Ah, look at that. Fantastic. Okay, that's low. And it's very, very quiet. Like, set my computer back there, turn on. Very, very quiet. Yeah. So let's turn this on. Okay, so the ionizer turned on. Obviously, we're not gonna see it working. It works over time, of course. But we have the indicator here. We're gonna need that. Um, Perfect. That was a total success. This doesn't really have any option function except telling you when was the last time you changed the filter. It's just a knob that you can just rotate, indicating when was installed, or when do you needed to replace it. If you remember which one you chose to select here, there's no real function on that. But yeah, fantastic. Other than getting a filter type A from this manufacturer, everything else worked out pretty fine. Have almost a brand new but very well clean air purifier. All the functions work. I'm really happy the way the connector replacement went. I surely don't want to use this for a long period of time. All this gunk and stuff like that, we just simply we're not gonna have a good connection, and it may be a potential fire hazard, because of all this gunk here will cause a lot of resistance and heat buildup, and yeah, it would not be pretty. And if I clean it up, then I will be changing the value of the actual connector itself. Yes, this doesn't really need a lot of current going through it, so it would have been fine, but I think replacing it was just so much better. But alright, so that makes it for this mini project. Hope this was entertaining, which was the point, educational. And if you like for me to keep going with this, either mini projects or building computers and do other things, please leave a comment below, give me your ideas, your thoughts. I will definitely improve with time, obviously, and that's the intent. And with the goal of bringing you better content, obviously. But yes, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave your comment, and I'll see you in the next one.